طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. We'll take the questions inshallah from the brothers here if there are any, and if not then from online. لو كان عنده سؤال أو استفسار أو مشاركة فهذا وقته إن شاء الله تعالى. تفضل علي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Can one get a cat and make the intentions of I'm getting a cat, I'm gonna buy a cat because I don't want any mice in my house, even though he doesn't have any mice in his house?
What do you mean, buying it or
Yeah,
just
buying it? Let's say you want to.
Well, that depends on the ruling of buying a cat. If you follow the view that it's lawful, then no problem. But for argument's sake, you believe that it's haram, you cannot have a cat, you cannot buy a cat. If it's a haja, if it's a need, then that's one thing. And of course, cats are a benefit. إنها من الطوافين عليكم أو الطوافات. تدخل عليك تخرج تروح يعني. The cat is supposed to be in your presence. The cat is clean. The cat is a benefit. And cats not only hunt mice, but they also prevent mice. Just like the cat smells the mice also smell the cat. And that keeps them away. And subhanallah, yani, if you just look at when a cat hunts, how Allah created the cat. You ever see a cat's ears twitch really fast? It's mind-blowing how delicate their sense of hearing and smell and sight is, even in the dark. And the speed, the reflexes, what do you say there? It's not the reflexes of a cat, what? And the speed of a mongoose. That's poetry, right? The reflexes of a cat, right? And just it goes to show you like some human beings, how vicious some human beings can be. You ever see a cat torture the mouse, play with the mouse for 10, 20 minutes? The poor helpless mouse, let it get away, keep torturing it, keep tormenting the cat. And this is why Shakespeare, in his play, he called envious people the green-eyed monster. You ever wonder where that came from? هذا شكسبير معروف ها سمى الحسود سماه الوحش يعني ذو ايش عيون خضراء يعني تشبيها بالقطة يعني بالشره والشراسة يعني هذا الحسد في الإنسان يعني why are you envious and how nasty envy can be and what it can lead to. Envy destroying a relationship, household, a team, an empire. So that's why he called it the green-eyed monster. So there are many lessons you can take from a cat. And when a cat hunts, right? And subhanAllah, once again, the loyalty of the cat. When a cat hunts the cat, you come home, the cat does what?
Bring you right to it.
That's right, it shows you. Aren't you proud of me? Right? It's very interesting, very interesting. Al-Muhim, so therefore if it's a need, then that's one thing. Whether it's impermissible, prohibited or not, if there's a need, and that's the most effective way, then Wallahu ta'ala alam. Fadal.
What is there during Christmas?
Christmas? هذا لا يجوز. المسلم ما يشارك في Christmas نهائيا أبدا. Christmas ما يجوز.
What is it, Christmas?
Oh, what is it?
Yeah, what is it?
طيب كريسمس له معاني. المعنى الأول هو يعني ميلاد المسيح. يقولون أن عيسى عليه الصلاة والسلام ولد في هذا اليوم في التاريخ. وهذا طبعا لا يستقيم. يعني من حيث التاريخ حتى عند النصارى هذا لا يستقيم. لم يولد 25 ديسمبر. وإنما هذا يوم للمشركين الذين كانوا حديثي عهد بالنصرانية في عهد الرومان في القديم. يعني هم ميعوا دين المسيح حتى يقربوه إلى هؤلاء الوثنيين والمشركين حتى يدخلوا فيه لأسباب سياسية أو مثلا حتى للدعوة. لكنهم تنازلوا عن عقيدتهم بسبب هؤلاء الوثنيين والمشركين الذين كان لهم آلهة وكان لهم مثلا يعبدون يعني يعبدون ما يعبدون. فبعض هؤلاء يعني الشياطين مثلا جنيات هؤلاء يعني كان لهم مواليد وأيام وأعمال، الشجرة، النجوم، النيران، عرفت؟ فهذا كله إيش؟ تداخل في دين النصارى، حتى صار اليوم 25 ديسمبر كريسماس، يقولون هذا يعني ميلاد عيسى، وولد في هذا اليوم من العذراء الطاهرة المطهرة، مريم عليه الصلاة والسلام. هذا طبعا حتى في دينهم وفي تاريخهم هذا لا يستقيم، فضلا عن عقيدتنا وتاريخنا احنا المسلمين. بس حتى القدامى ما كان عندهم هذا اليوم بالضبط، هذا غلط في التاريخ. فهذا الشيء، فهم يحتفلون بولادة بالمسيح، بالكرايست، بعيسى في هذا اليوم، ويعني 12 days 12 يوما بعده. طيب، أما المعنى الثاني for Christmas هذا عيد يعني دنيوي، ليس له تعلق بالدين. اكسمس يعني يعلقون مثلا النيران والشجر والهدايا والتحف، عرفت كيف؟ ويكون نهاية العام الشمسي، التقويم الشمسي، عرفت كيف؟ وبداية العام الجديد في أول يناير. أيوة، فمهما كان سبب ديني سبب دنيوي، المسلم ما يشارك في هذا أبدا. والله تعالى هذا باختصار طبعا، والله أعلم. تفضل حمزة.
أحسن الله إليكم يا شيخ، بارك الله فيك. When it comes to opinions in Islam, and let's say you're learning a book and there's so much اختلافات, what should you do? What should you follow?
With regards to opinions and اختلافات, you study in levels, step by step, piece by piece. فسالت أودية بقدرها، الوادي إنما يسيل بالماء المقدر، لا التجاوز الطغيان، ولا ينقص وينزل عن يعني الحد المقدر له. فسالت هذه الأودية بما قدر الله، يعني كونوا ربانيين بما كنتم تعلمون الكتاب وبما كنتم تدرسون. قال عبد الله بن عباس: كونوا ربانيين تعلمون الناس صغار العلم قبل كباره. فأنا خطوة بعد خطوة، درجة بعد درجة، تتأصل، تتقعد، بعد ذلك تترقع في السلم. You learn in steps, you learn in stages. You don't learn all at once. So there's certain steps and certain stages which aren't on your level. But even if you are exposed to them, such as this class, this is the main class. This doesn't mean that this is your systematic study and your systematic halqa, the level that you're on. Understand? So you study the smaller books, the easier books, the simpler books with your teacher or teachers, and you gradually progress until you have enough memorization power and until you've expanded your intelligence to comprehend and to envelop and to get all of that information and separate what needs to be separated and to put together what needs to be put together. واضح؟
نعم.
الركائز العشر لتحصيل العلمي. أنصح بهذه الكتيب. الركائز العشر لتحصيل العلمي. The 10 key points of gaining and obtaining knowledge. Abdullah As-Sulfiq Al-Dhufayli. Right? The book is in Arabic, the book is in English. He talks about 10 crucial key points to seek knowledge successfully. And if you study that book and you look at that book, you'll see the beauty of that book. And it talks about these different things with regards to intelligence. And al-bulgha, right? Suhbat al-Shaykh al-Muallim, right? All right? Tul al-Zaman, naam? Wallahu ta'ala alam.
جزاكم خير.
Tfaddal. What's online?
AA London, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What is the default of an individual that is beneficial in the spread of Islam when it comes to asking of his background, as in teachers and history?
What is
would,
Fadal?
and as a follow-up, which would which would in turn make him a yay or nay when it comes to interacting and taking from them. I told that dog story twice yesterday / today, subhanAllah.
ما شاء الله. طيب المهم الأصل في الشيخ الثقة حتى يتبين منه خلاف ذلك. الأصل في المعلم الثقة والطيب والخير حتى يتبين خلاف ذلك. وقال كثير من أهل العلم هذا في حق المسلم كذلك، الأصل في المسلم الخير والطيب، إلا في حالات الشاهد مثلا لا يقال هذا عند القاضي أن الأصل في لا، القاضي يعني يتحقق ويسيء الظن بالناس حتى ما يحكم بالغلط، يدقق في الأمور. الشاهد مثلا أو الراوي مثلا، نعم مثلا. Okay, so in general, the Muslim by default should be goodness. And obviously the scholars, they differ on this issue. But oftentimes they don't differ on the default, but they differ on certain situations. Oftentimes. A narrator and a witness isn't like the average Muslim. You have good thoughts of a Muslim until it's proven otherwise. And you should have good thoughts of someone presenting knowledge until proven otherwise. However, living in a world in which there's so many different strands and denominations and schisms, كثرة الجماعات والفرق والمشارب والمذاهب، نعم، كثرة التحزب والتعصب والادعاء. الكل يدعي الخير، السنة، العلم، عندي وأنا جماعتي فحسب. لا غير. Right? A lot of people claim we have the truth and we have the truth only. And anyone that's unknown to us outside of our circle is automatically by default a deviant until proven to be upon what we're upon. And obviously, that's بطلانه يغني عن إبطاله. That's clearly wrong and dangerous, extremely dangerous. So therefore, if someone is teaching you and presenting knowledge, then it should be good until proven otherwise. Until proven otherwise. Wallahu ta'ala. And of course, there are levels within that. Faddal.
What is the ruling of initials in city and state? AQ, Ontario, Canada. It is sinful. Is it sinful / lawful to work under the table for cash without reporting it to the government?
Is it sinful to work under the table without reporting to the government? It's not sinful, no. It's not obligatory. And many people, they get things wrong. They say you have to follow the rules of the land, the law of the land. Where does it state that at? And what ayah or hadith states that the Muslim has to follow the law of the land? You have an Islamic ruler, obeying him in goodness, not cheating people, being honest, no problem, that's fine. But where does it state that the Muslim is obliged to follow every single thing in the land in which he lives? Let alone is the Muslim even supposed to live in the land other than Islam? So therefore, you paying taxes, you getting a pay stub, a paycheck, of course that's going to be better for you and safer for you. Issues with taxes, your credit score, things that you need. But no one coming along and says it's haram to work under the table. It's unlawful. La yuqal hada. No, that's not to be said. Wallahu alam.
KB, Montreal, Canada. Assalamu alaikum. Is it true that I have to undo my braids if I want a valid ghusl?
No, you do not have to take out your braids if you want a valid ghusl. Whether you're male or female, whether you're making a ghusl from janaba or from your monthly cycle. You don't have to remove your braids. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
DB, Dublin, Ireland. Assalamu alaikum. A brother asked me which modern scholar I follow. Keep in mind, I just met the person. He barely introduced himself.
Aywa.
How do I deal with these kind of people?
Be patient. Offer him a cup of coffee and a donut or something. Danish, Assalamu alaikum. What scholars do you listen to? Assalamu alaikum. Who do you follow? Assalamu alaikum. Do you know brother? ايش هذا يعني؟ السلام عليكم. انت تتبع من جماعة ايش؟ ايش مذهبك؟ عقيدتك؟ كذا شباب يعني للأسف. Right? That's a big problem. What's important is don't argue with them. Don't engage them. You tell them, I take from, the good holy scholars of Islam. That's it. Let them burn themselves out, right? And eventually, if you don't feed into that and you don't give them the answer that they want, they'll what? They'll discard you. So you won't even have to put forth the effort, right? Allah musta'an. And as many people have said, that it's not just dawah differences, but this is psychological disturbances, right? May Allah help us all from psychological what? Or psychiatric or whatever disorders, right? In the name of this or that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. What scholars do you listen to? Yani, Tfaddal.
MN, Columbus, Ohio. Does a transaction between two people require the pleasure of both parties if a person sells out of necessities, but does not really want to sell their item, for example?
هذا تراضي يا أخي نور. مهما كان حاله هو مضطر ما دام انه as long يعني even if a person is forced he has to get rid of it. That's consent. Then if a person is coerced, then la. No. But if a person, I really don't want to get rid of it, but I have to, but no one is actually gunpoint forcing me, that's taradi. That's consent. Wallahu alam.
MS, Gatineau, Canada. How to raise daughters not to become attention seekers and potentially end up posting their pictures on social media to fish for attention or mixing with non-mahram men.
How to raise daughters not to have daddy issues, basically. He says posting their pictures online, seeking attention from men, non-mahram men, so on and so on and so forth. Well, tarbiyah, you have to make tarbiyah of your children. And obviously that's a lecture that's lectures. Tarbiyah of the child. Raising the child in the proper Islamic fashion. And of course on a social level, or the psychological level, whatever the case may be, the human being needs attention. By nature. Everybody needs some attention and likes and loves some attention. That's a natural thing. So therefore, it's not a bad thing that the daughters want attention, but it's a bad thing them getting attention in the wrong place from the wrong person, disobeying the law for that attention. So I think that in the home, you have to make sure that you show your children in general, let alone your daughters, an abundance of attention. Make them feel special and sweet. Tell them that they're beautiful and smart. Show them how to pray. Call them princess, honey, I love you. You take them out. You spend time with them, father and daughter, right? You show them, you teach them the way in which they won't have to seek unnecessary attention in the incorrect way or an incorrect source. And obviously when a woman is old enough to realize how the world works and how women are objectified and they objectify themselves, then she has to fear Allah herself. You have no business posting this picture of yourself on social media, dressing like this, looking like this, when everyone is going to look at it. The wicked and the righteous. Wallahu alam.
At Nairobi, Kenya, at Nairobi, Kenya, I have a Quran exam. So it is Abdul Alim permissible to go to the people who have done the exam and ask them, what were you asked? Because maybe I will be asked the same question.
Is it permissible to go to people who have already been examined and ask them, what were you examined in, etc.? If you know that the teacher doesn't change the questions, then don't go and ask. But if the teacher is going to change the questions, then you can ask them. There's nothing wrong with that. Looking at the style of the teacher to prepare yourself. Sometimes teachers are totally unorthodox. You study and memorizing all of this, and they may ask you about something just like that. And I've had teachers ask questions that weren't even a part of the curriculum. Wallahi. Yeah, and expect you to know it. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's why the teachers switch up the exams. They shuffle the exams every semester. That way the students can't what?
Kitchener, Ontario. I need a breast reduction due to severe back pain, encouraged by my family's doctor. However, my surgeon is a man and I have to go in for consultation. Is this halal?
Question is regarding a woman needing a breast reduction because of severe back pain. And she only has a male physician. The consultation, so on and so forth, is it lawful? The general rule is that medical necessity has its place. If there's a medical need or medical compulsion, you have no choice, and it's only the same sex or whatever the case may be, or it's not the same sex, etc., then that's the ruling of that. If it's lawful, if it's a need. As far as if you have an alternative, you can be patient, you can wait, you can go to another city, another town, without making an extreme hardship upon yourself, then of course you should do that. And of course there are rulings, is it lawful for a woman to get a breast reduction? Is that lawful? But for argument's sake, it's lawful, and there's no female physician or consultant, and you have to get it done. Wallahu alam.
O.R. Springfield, VA, Assalamu alaikum Mufti. What advice do you have to those who are scrolling through social media, saddened by the atrocities, feeling helpless by the plots of the shaitan?
Repeat the question one more time.
O.R. Springfield, VA, Assalamu alaikum Mufti. What advice do you have to those who are scrolling through social media, saddened by the atrocities and feeling helpless by the plots of shaitan?
People who are scrolling and feeling helpless from the plots of the shaitan, that's all of us. We're all bombarded with Al Jazeera, MSNBC, Sky, this, that, what advice would I give to them? First and foremost is you can only hope for Allah. فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا لَا يَرْجُونَ. Allah mentions that the kuffar, they hope for other than us, other than Allah. So the Muslim can't hope for other than Allah. So I think one of the reasons behind the sadness of what's going on in the world today is that people are there hoping for other than Allah. They're not saying it's all shirk or kufr, because there's levels of raja. But you're hoping for these people to make a ceasefire. You're hoping for these people to stop killing. You're hoping for these people to do this and to do that and to do that. And obviously we're in the third month. They're not going to. All right, and we've said this many times before. The games that are being played is literally like a cat and mouse, like Tom and Jerry, literally. America, our beloved country, says we're advising Israel to stop. We're advising Israel. We're telling Israel, put a premium on civilians. What the heck does that mean? Put a premium. Stop killing. Why don't you just say that? They have to put a premium. Well, like the words, right? As Allah tells us, the slippings of the tongue and how they play word games. So America is saying stop, 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 stop. And Israel, publicly, openly, is blatantly saying what?
No.
Heck no, we ain't stopping. We're going to keep pushing forward and moving forward. But you just killed 200 people. How many Hamas terrorists did you get? It doesn't matter. Keep bombing, keep killing. Go south. The south is safe. Remember that? Now what? Then they said, go back north. Oh, oops, that's no longer safe. Go to the center of Gaza. That's no longer safe. Go to this, it's nonsense. And the UN is nonsense. The Security Council is literal nonsense. What's the purpose of it? They haven't done anything. Humanitarian aid, humanitarian pause. 25,000 people killed. Just like that. So you're expecting these people to understand or to have some mercy or to have some humanity or to abide by their hypocritical rules. You're a fool. And if you can't see that after 3 months of fighting, then you're totally blind. They do not care. And they've made that plain as day. End of discussion. So you scrolling, thinking, waiting, looking to see what they're going to say, this and that's going to cause you grief. And it's easier for you to deal with the grief of the reality of the situation through other means instead of you attaching your expectations on these people. That's number one. Number two is you have to read the Quran. You have to reflect on the Quran. Allah talks about those who killed the believers. It isn't a new thing. Pharaoh said, I will burn you alive. It's not a new thing. Killing believers, slaughtering believers. All right? How the kuffar are protectors of each other. It isn't a new thing. So you have to realize that there's a wisdom why Allah is allowing this to happen and why He has decreed it. And what will be the end for the Muslims and for the kuffar. So you have to look at that, and that should strengthen your faith. وَصَدَقَ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَمَا Allah says, and it only made the believers have what? Imanan wa tasliman. When the believers saw the Ahzab, they said, this is what Allah and His Messenger has promised us. So I'm reading in the Quran, they will come together, they will فَسَيُنْفِقُونَهَا, they will spend their wealth. And أَقْرَأ هَذَا. When I see this in real life, it's supposed to do what? It's supposed to make me firmer. SubhanAllah, this is exactly what Allah said. Look, cut on the news. So on and so forth, right? So that's my advice. Last but not least, is don't think or don't feel that you're powerless. There's something that you can do. There are things that you can do. You do have a voice. You do have a dollar. There are things that you can do, right? Don't underestimate, right? Things. Don't look at yourself as being weak and having no power whatsoever. وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ حَسْبُنَا اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ.
ANDC, would you say a Sa'di tafsir is good to read?
Would I say a Sa'di's tafsir is good to read? For sure, absolutely. I've benefited tremendously from Sa'di's tafsir.
DJ, Toronto, Canada, Assalamu alaikum. Ibn al-Jawzi wrote a book titled The Virtues of the Blacks and Abyssinians.
طيب.
And he wrote in the book that his intentions were to uplift blacks and Abyssinians that were feeling down about their race. What's your view on the effect of this book?
طيب. The book is on, the question on the book of Ibn al-Qayyim, or Ibn al-Jawzi, excuse me. زوال الغبش في فضل السوداني والحبش. The virtues of blacks and Abyssinians. I have the book. I have the book in English. I was gifted to when I was in Speaker's Corner in the UK. It's an excellent book. It's an amazing book. We've introduced the book before in the live stream. And I think that the book is clear. There are people who abuse race, who abuse nation, who abuse ethnicity, and who abuse skin color. Putting people up and putting others down. That's a reality. So therefore, it's going to be a big, huge, gigantic problem. You're telling me that this race is superior utterly, and these other races, and specifically this race is inferior utterly. But a big, gigantic portion of this race is what? Is Muslim. So now what? What do you tell these people that are from this ethnicity or have this skin color? That the people from another ethnicity or skin color put themselves on a pedestal, look down upon them, are racist against them, etc., etc., etc. It's going to be, it's a mushkila now. Islam is supposed to be a complete way of life. But look at the social dealings. شوف الطبقية والعنصرية. كيف؟ هل هذا من الإسلام يعني؟ الواحد والعياذ بالله قد يرتد بسبب يعني سوء المعاملة وبسبب الجاهلية المتفشية في أوساط الشرق الأوسط والشمال أفريقيا وفي العالم الإسلامي للأسف الشديد. كلنا نعاني من هذا للأسف. So how is it possible for the teachings of Islam to be so correct, so pure, but the racism, the prejudice, the tribalism be so strong? This is a problem. So some people may have doubts, some people may feel down, some people may feel depressed, some people may feel the law has wronged them or it's unfair, etc. So he wrote this book. All right? And before we get into what ulama were black or African or sub-Saharan or this one's here, this one. Well, before you get into that, the virtue of a Najashi. The first place to support Islam was where? Africa. The first people to support the Muslims were the Arabs. It wasn't Quraysh, it wasn't Mecca, it was Habasha. So that in itself is sufficient of a virtue. The ayat pertaining to Najashi, the hadith pertaining to Najashi, and the virtue of that king who at the time was a Christian. And then later on he accepted Islam and how he treated those Arabs. And I'll never forget, one year I was in Medina and Saudi, they were going through the different programs of Saudiizing everything, kicking out non-Saudis, empowering and employing more Saudis, getting them to be the doctors, the people who work, blah, 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 blah. And all races had to face it. But of course, at the bottom of the barrel were the drivers, the servants, the workers that came from Chad, or came from Ethiopia, or came from Djibouti, etc. And from the little that I saw, I was busy studying, a lot of what they were doing was crazy, and it was shameful. And if I'm not mistaken, it was an ambassador, someone in the government of Ethiopia, and I think he was a Christian. I could be wrong. He said it's shameful the way that you Arabs are treating our people in your country. And the history of your religion, of your race, look how we treated your people when they were weak and poor and needed a place to go. That's really sad. For the kafir to know more, to be more guided than the so-called Muslim, Arab, whatever the case may be. So racism, tribalism, colorism, these are problems that plague the Muslim world. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said to Abu Dhar, right? Inni tasababtu, he says that I got into an argument with one of the Muslims there in Medina, okay? Those who made hijrah, okay? The muhajirin, right? And obviously they became Ansar as well. And it isn't an authentic report that it was Bilal. لا يثبت أنه كان بلال. أنه تسببت مع رجل فعيرته بأمه قال يا ابن السوداء أمك سوداء أبوك الله أعلم لكن أمك سوداء. He got mad, he got upset. تسببت صار السباب بيني وبينه. قال هذا الكلام في حال الغضب يعني حالة الغضب زلة. He was angry. And what did the Prophet ﷺ say to him? إنك رجل فيك جاهلية. That's Abu Dhar. He says, you're a man who has some of the pre-Islamic ignorance in. If that was one argument, one fight that I got into this man, I said he was the son of a black woman, just imagine what the Prophet ﷺ would say today. How people treat people because they're black or African or sub-Saharan or so on and so forth. Just imagine that. He said it, Abu Dhar, virtuous companion, you have jahiliyyah in you. What would he say about the people today? From Yemen, from this country, from that country, how they look at people. And the last thing I'll say regarding this answer, the other day I was in Maryland, and subhanAllah, Abdul Qadir, if you're out there watching this, brother asked me a question saying that another brother said, listen to this now, that black Americans should not get involved with what's going on in Palestine because of how the fair-skinned or bronze or wheat-colored Palestinians treat the black Palestinians. And there are many black Palestinians or Afro-Palestinians living in Palestine. So he said they're treated like, excuse my French on the live stream, crap. They're treated like trash. There's racism between these looking Arabs and the black African Arabs that live in this section, blah, 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 blah. So he says, so how in the world can the black Americans, the Negroes here, fight and protest and boycott for these racist people? What do you want to say? What can you say? To a large extent, that's what? It's true. Obviously, there's a balance to that. What you're fighting for, what you believe in. Islam in your heart has to be stronger than the Jahiliyyah in those people's hearts. Nor is it lawful. لا يجوز التعميم. لا يجوز أن نعمم كل أحد لأنه عنصري أو طبقي. لا. Everybody can't be called a racist. That's not true. That's unlawful. Every single Palestinian is racist and looks down. That's not true. But the moral of the story is it does exist. It does exist, unfortunately. So at the end of the day, the book is a beneficial book. And I don't see anyone that will be uncomfortable from the book except for someone that has something to hide. And if you're hiding the long history of scholars, of warriors, of kings, of prophets that are black, يعني إيش تخاف من الكتاب؟ الكتاب مذكور أن هذا النبي كان أسمر اللون، وأن هذا الشيخ كان أسود، وأن هذا كان حبشي، وأن إيش تخاف؟ ليش هذا الكتاب يخيفك؟ صح ولا لا؟ إلا إذا حبيت أن إيش؟ تخفي شيء. أن الخير والفضل والعلم والشجاعة والكرم فقط في لون أو في جنس أو وإلا ما أحد ما يخاف من المعلومات الثابتة في التاريخ. طيب سعيد بن جبير رحمه الله هو من أفضل تلاميذ ابن عباس، كان حبشي. إيش المشكلة؟ إلا إذا كنت يعني تعتقد، وحتى ليس بلسان مقالك وإنما بلسان حالك، أن السود والحبش يعني هم دون في العقل ودون في التدبير ودون وأن العرب هم، هذا إشكال. Why are you so scared and afraid of the truth getting out? Why does it make you so uncomfortable, right? A long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs, they say. Cat with a long tail in a room full of rocking chairs. At any second, that rocking chair can what? Right? Why are you so nervous? If it's factual information, what's the problem? So knowledge and the suppression of knowledge and people weaponizing knowledge, weaponizing Islam for their own race. Let alone if you get technical, Arabs are not white. They never were, and they're not supposed to be. And for argument's sake, if it's an Arab today that has very fair skin, this is not my kalam now, historically speaking, are you even what? That's a discussion in itself, right? Okay, so the moral of the story is, these are all things from Jahiliyyah. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Bas. The best of you is he who has most taqwa. And of course, it is disrespectful to Allah Azza wa Jalla. هو الذي يصوركم إيش؟ Allah, هو المصور. So are you saying bad things about Allah? That this person is black and ugly and hideous and horrible? Allah created that person in that color, or that melanin, with that pigmentation. And last but not least, of course, is how the shaitan tricks people. You look down upon blacks and Africans, that's fine. There are plenty of people who what? Look down what? On you. So it doesn't matter whether you're a nigger or a sand nigger. To this person from this country, you're a what? At the end of the day. So this is all from the filth of Jahiliyyah. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Pakistani, Indian, Bangladeshi, black, Philly, New York, Queens, Brooklyn, man, Jahiliyyah. We're supposed to be believers. We're supposed to be brothers. We're supposed to be an example for non-Muslims. Why would a non-Muslim become a Muslim when they can tangibly feel the racism in Medina? An American student that's white and an American student that's black. And you can clearly see the favoritism for the American student. Is not an attack on nobody. It's not an attack on anybody. Just stating facts. He's Caucasian. This student, he's a Negro. The Negro student, for argument's sake, he's 10 times smarter than a Caucasian. And I'm not saying all black people. I'm just talking about two people. He's a hard-working Talib, but he's talented. But the sheikhs, the teachers, all of them gravitate towards the Caucasian student who doesn't even study, whose Arabic is poor and choppy, who has poor work ethic. He's barely a student of knowledge. But so how is a non-Muslim going to come into a deen and they see this behavior? So this is a big problem. Ask Allah to guide us. All right? The book is a beneficial book. And there wouldn't be a need to write the book if it wasn't because of the racism and the prejudice. Now, but at the same time, لا تغلو في دينكم. Don't go to the extreme. And that's another trick of the shaitan. مكايد الشيطان كثيرة جدا. والشيطان يعني ما يهمه وأنت دخلت النار بسبب العصبية للسود والبيض والعرب، ما يهمه. إنما يدعو حزبه ليكونوا بس. ما يهم. Shaitan doesn't care how you go to hell. Through shirk and kufr because of blacks, ancestor worship, Arab, he doesn't care. So that's my advice. And أربع في أمتي من أمور الجاهلية لا يتركونهن. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول الفخر بالأحساب والطعن في الأنساب لا يترك نهائيا. هذا ستستمر في الأمة للأسف إلا ما رحم ربي. So this is also something which should make your faith stronger. The Prophet says 4 things in my nation that will remain. And from that is pride in one's lineage and looking down upon others' lineage. And of course, what makes you special? You haven't done anything. For argument's sake, your forefather was a warrior, he was this, but what it got to do with you? Your lineage doesn't make you better or worse than anybody. And this is all from the stupidity of Jahiliyyah, which a man thinks that he doesn't have to do this or he's automatically entitled just because of his lineage. All right? Allahumma musta'an. Tfaddal.
Assalamu alaikum. Is it so? You think it's one of the wisdoms that the khatib will recite Surah An-Nisa in the khutbah, reminding the people you all come from one?
There's no doubt about that. Nafsin wahida, one soul. He created you from one soul. You all share one responsibility of taqwa. Regardless of what you look like and how much money you got, how strong you are, how pretty you are, how tall you are, how short you are, how many muscles you got, who knows you, what block you come from, what projects you come from, what clique you... It means nothing. You have the responsibility and duty of fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And humanity as one big, gigantic race. And of course, some of the greatest atrocities in history have been made and done in the name of race. Rather, most atrocities, I would say, 9 out of 10, are only done because of, and from that is, Qadiyya Filistiniya al-an. It's because of race, right? And the hypocrisy of the people, once you can't say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. They say that's anti-Semitic. That means getting rid of Israel. All right, well, can you say greater Israel? Samaria? Do the Zionists not say that we deserve from the sea, between the 2 seas, the Star of David, their flag? The Nile to the Euphrates? Right? So we ask Allah for guidance. We'll stop here tonight. And we ask Allah to help our brothers and sisters in Gaza. All of the slaughter, the killing, Allahumma musta'an. We ask Allah to help them, to support them. And we ask Allah to shake their enemies and to make their land unstable and to make their planes fall and crash and to make them suffer and die in pain and humiliation. Allahumma ameen. We ask Allah to free Masjid al-Aqsa from those filthy hands and to support our brave brothers and sisters in the resistance. Allahumma ameen.